Hey, so I tried making a video of me reviewing this movie called The Sea Beast on Netflix, but I just saw the footage and none of the actual clips of the movie that I screen recorded for the video were captured at all. It was just a black screen. So, yeah, you get no clips for the actual movie in this video. You just get a black screen and me talking, which is way less fun than me recording bits and pieces of the movie to play as background for me talking. Uh, I'll I'll tell the plot generally. I'll skip over some stuff. So if you want to watch the actual movie, it's on Netflix, or you could just pirate it. I don't care. Anyways, the movie's about this girl named Maisie. She lives at an orphanage. She says her parents died on a ship called the Monarch. They were hunters, as they're called, of these sea beasts. Basically, the king and queen hire hunters to go out on ships and kill giant sea monsters and then bring back whatever parts that they cut off from them to sell. So it sounds like whaling, but instead of whales, it's giant sea monsters that can fight back way worse than what whales can do. So, you know, that's crazy. Anyways, then after we see Maisie escape from the orphanage because she doesn't want to be there, she hates being at the orphanage. Anyway, she escapes, and then we see three more characters. We cut to a ship on the sea, the high seas. The ship is called the Inevitable, and we see three characters. Captain Crow, who has an eye patch because he lost his eye to fight with a sea beast called the Red Bluster. Then we also see his second in command, Sarah. And then we also see his protege, sort of, named Jacob. Uh, Anyways, they are hunting this sea beast called the Red Bluster, which is the giant sea monster that's red, of course. But they are distracted by another ship being attacked by a different monster. What is it called? Like a bristleback or something? Brittleback? I don't remember the name. But they're being hunted by or this other ship is being attacked by that monster. And apparently Jacob invokes the hunter's code that they must help the other ship and abandon the Red Bluster. So they do, to help the other ship because it's the right thing. And they fight this other giant monster with tentacles and a big scary mouth and stuff. And it's a really cool looking fight. I wish you could actually see it. But anyways, they kill it. The captain almost drowns, almost dies. Same with Jacob, but they live. the captain saws off a piece of the monster's horn to bring back, and they do, but not before they celebrate at a tavern. They celebrate. Maisie then jumps into the tavern, talks to Jacob, tells him about his entry in this book that she reads about hunters killing sea beasts. It's like he's a local legend or something. She wants to join the hunters. She wants to be like them. But Jacob doesn't want her to join the hunters just yet. Like, she wants to join them right now. She wants to be on their ship. But Jacob's like, no, it's too dangerous. But of course, she wants to be on their ship because Jacob was brought onto Captain Crow's ship and became part of his crew at a very young age. But of course, Jacob didn't have the easiest life, and he was lucky more than once. So, too dangerous for a little kid. Anyway, so he picks her up, sends her back to the orphanage, and then Captain Crow and his crew bring the horn of the monster that they killed to the king and queen. The king and queen are displeased at this. They wanted the red bluster. They didn't pay the hunters to save each other. They paid them to kill the red bluster. Even if it was the right thing to do to abandon the hunt and save the other ship. Anyways, then the king and queen show Captain Crow their new ship. They built a new ship. They don't want to support the hunters anymore. Instead, they would rather do it themselves. Or rather, they'd rather have their own army do it themselves instead of paying third parties like hunters to kill the sea beasts. So they introduce the crew to another ship called the Imperator, a huge, very shiny looking ship with like a bunch of cannons, and it's really fancy looking, but Captain Crow is not very pleased at this because it was clearly built by people who don't know anything about sea beasts, so it has a ton of weaknesses. Like, it can be easily capsized, and it's not broad enough and stuff like that. So then, the captain says some fighting words. King and Queen are about to arrest him for, basically standing up to them, until Jacob becomes a mediator and tells the king and queen that they don't have to do this. Instead, it could be a contest. The hunters, the inevitable, will go after the red bluster, same as the Imperator, and whoever gets the red bluster first will still be in a job. If the inevitable wins, then the crown will still support the hunters. And if the Imperator wins, then the hunters will be no more. either way, the king and queen win because the red bluster will be dead. So, you know, they agree. And then the inevitable is back on the seas, hunting for the red bluster. But of course, Maisie snuck aboard in an empty beer keg. So she now has to be on the same ship that is going against the most dangerous sea beast, apparently, in the entire ocean. But she manages to stay aboard because she flatters the captain with an excerpt from her book, about the captain being a huge hero and a badass. So she stays aboard, much to Jacob's dismay. Anyways, then they encounter the red bluster. They harpoon it, and they intend to wear it down until they kill it, but it has different plans. Instead, it creates a whirlpool and intends to sink the entire ship. Maisie is given a knife and is told to cut the line or else the ship will go down with the entire crew. The captain does not like this. He doesn't want Maisie to cut the rope because then the red bluster will get away. So he orders Jacob to stop her. He does at first, but then they see that they're going down with the red bluster, so he lets her cut the rope. Then in the ensuing sort of struggle, they fall off the ship. There's a really cool shot that I wish you could have seen in this video, but there's a really cool shot where the red bluster stares them down while they're beneath the waves. They're looking at it, and it's looking at them. And then it slowly backs away, and you can see it disappear into the foggy depths while it's staring at them. That is really cool. That was a really cool shot. But anyways, then Jacob and Maisie get on a dinghy and are rowing back to the ship. Well, the captain orders Jacob to row back to the ship. He intends to do something very not nice to Maisie for cutting the line. Jacob hesitates, and then the captain points a gun at Jacob to row back. That's not cool at all. Not cool pointing a gun at people. You shouldn't point guns at people. Lesson of the day, don't point guns at people. But anyways, then the red bluster eats them. Then the red bluster eats Jacob and Maisie. Not really, though. She just puts them in its mouth. I already said she, didn't I? Well, it's revealed later that the red bluster is a she. Anyways, she just puts them in her mouth, like... well, they're not swallowed. They're not They're not being chewed. They're not being swallowed. They're not being eaten. They're just inside the red bluster's mouth. you know. They explore a bit. They manage to crawl up into her nasal cavity where they see everything underwater, even though technically the nostril should be closed. It's not like a vacuum in there. It's not vacuum sealed in there, you know. It's not like water can't get in the nostrils. Like, they're open. Nostrils should be closed when they're underwater, or else water will rush in. But anyways, who cares if physics be damned. Uh, they're inside of the nostril. They see out into the water. And we later see that the Red Bluster takes them to an island. After some shenanigans, I guess, where Jacob and Maisie are tied together by a rope. Jacob tries to stab the Red Bluster despite it probably not doing anything, since it's like it's like 150-foot long sea monster, and he's like a tiny human with a little spear. Like, we see that her whole back is covered in spears and harpoons, and they look like little toothpicks. Anyways, she leaves them. She doesn't kill them. Maisie is wondering about that. Later, Maisie and Jacob take shelter in a conch shell, a giant conch shell in the jungle. Maisie talks about how they might be wrong about the sea beasts, and Jacob's like, "Are you kidding? They're monsters. They'll eat you and stuff. They're dangerous." And she's like, "But why did Red save us? And why didn't she eat us and stuff?" Anyways, Jacob goes out for supplies. Maisie goes to sleep, and then the next day, Maisie wakes up to a weird blue thing eating whatever food is in the food bag. She chases it. She gives it a little bit of food, and she befriends it that quickly. But she ends up chasing it in the middle of a nest. Jacob awakes, finds her in the middle of the nest with Blue. He tosses Blue because it's like a tiny sea beast. And they accidentally hatch the eggs by stepping on them. The eggs hatch. The babies rush toward them. They are chased by all the baby sea beasts that just hatched because they imprinted on them. But then the real mother comes and then chases them offshore. They go in the dinghy, they go offshore. The mother sea beast doesn't chase them any further because all her babies are with her. And she has no reason to go after them. So they go out to sea until they're stopped by a giant crab, which tries to eat them. But then Red comes in, fights the giant crab. Jacob throws a big spear at the crab's joint, which causes it to not be able to move that joint anymore. And then Red picks up the crab and tosses it away. It's a really cool fight. Wish you could have seen it. But alas, the screen recorder didn't capture any of the footage. Anyways. Then what happens is then Maisie manages to tell Red that they need to get to Red Pepper Island, which is the closest island to the one that they're at. And Red somehow understands. Red somehow understands Maisie. And she turns around, carries her dinghy on her head, and goes off. While that's happening, the inevitable goes to this other island called Mushik or something. Muckish, that's it. They go to this island called Muckish, to repair the ship and stuff, and to get a weapon that will kill Red. The captain goes to this witch lady who makes poison called Gwen Batterby. She introduces Captain Crow to a weapon called the Hand of God. Basically, it's a big cannon that shoots a big harpoon full of poison. So, that will kill it. If I've ever seen a weapon that will kill a giant sea monster, that would be one. Anyway, so Gwen then names the price. The entire ship and everything Captain Crow owns for the Hand of God. And he says deal. So after they kill the sea beast, he's got to give up everything he owns to Gwen. So yeah. Anyways. Then after that, Jacob and Maisie spend some time on Red, because the trip will take 3 days. Jacob reads some of the books. He talks about how sometimes there are discrepancies and lies, like how one entry, even though this book is supposed to be historical, one entry tells of a sea beast destroying an entire town along a coast. But he's been up and down that entire coast, and he's never seen any sign that there ever was a town to begin with. No ruins, no destroyed paths or destroyed buildings, nothing. Nothing that would ever suggest there was a town to begin with. So he's beginning to question his worldview a bit. Then a storm happens. They have to abandon the dinghy and go inside Red's nostril. They go underwater and they see a graveyard of shipwrecks and sea beast skeletons littering the ocean floor. So a lot of battles happened and a lot of people died. Like a lot of people. And a lot of monsters. So, yeah. Then after that, Jacob and Maisie get to Red Pepper Island along with Red, and they say their goodbyes. When Jacob fully agrees with not killing sea beasts anymore. He tries to break a harpoon over his knee, but fails, and it just hurts him. but Red gets the idea anyway. But then Red senses something. She goes over the ridge and sees the Imperator stocking up on supplies. She immediately senses that they're up to no good and wants to destroy the ship. Maisie and Jacob try to discourage her, to not have her attack the ship. She just watches them and growls. She watches the ship. She watches the people stocking up supplies. She doesn't go in yet. She just growls at them. But then someone notices her because she's a giant red monster and then tries to shoot her with a musket, which is like someone shooting you with a small bead. So it does nothing to her, and she immediately goes in. She goes down to the cove of the island, and then breaks the boat in half. She rams the boat's broadside after being pelted with cannon fire, which ends up hurting Maisie. But she breaks the boat in half, and that's another cool shot of the camera looking up at her, engulfed in smoke and dust, with her piercing yellow eyes staring down at the shipwreck that she just created. She's about to eat the captain of the Imperator when she's distracted by Jacob shooting her with a musket. So now Jacob is reminded of the destruction that these sea beasts can cause, and he sees that Maisie got hurt in the crossfire. So he sort of turns on Red a bit. He pulls out his knife when she tries to get closer. But then Red is distracted again by a flare from the inevitable. She goes to the inevitable, ready to fight it. Maisie doesn't want to, but she's too weak to stop Red. Then she is about to charge at the inevitable. And then Captain Crow fires the hand of God, this harpoon full of poison, straight into her side, which immediately takes her down, out of commission. She's not dead, though. She's still alive. She's just, really weak from the poison. Captain Crow wants to make a show of her death, so he keeps her alive by taking the harpoon out and dragging her all the way back to the kingdom, where he's going to publicly kill her in front of the king and queen. So, yeah, not good. Maisie is brought aboard along with Jacob. Jacob tells Captain Crow about their story. Captain Crow sees it as a truce, but there is no truce without war. So he still goes ahead with his plan. Maisie gets a blood transfusion from Jacob because she did lose a lot of blood. That was a bit of a shocking thing to me because there was a bit where he's holding her and then he looks at his hand and it's absolutely covered in blood. I did not expect that from a movie that was PG. Usually PG movies are way less dark than they were back then. you know, they were like way less dark than they were back then. And it's crazy, like, what used to fly back then in the 90s and 80s than what does now. I mean, it's called PG for a reason. It's parental guidance. Like, it's saying, hey, there might be some stuff in here that you don't want your kid to see. Like, it's basically telling the parents to watch the movie first before letting their kids see it. You know? Like, the whole family can still see it. It's just that some parents may not like what's in the movie, so some parents may tell their children not to watch it. Anyways, that tangent aside, Maisie is strong enough to be awake now, when to stand and walk and stuff. She gets locked in a room, and they tie ropes around Red and drag her all the way to the town, the city, where they're going to publicly execute her. Captain Crow welcomes Jacob back, and Captain Crow is going to have Jacob become his successor. It's all Jacob ever wanted. Admiration from the crew, being in charge of the ship. But now that he's seen everything, now that he's seen now that he's seen Red do all this stuff, helping him and Maisie, he's his worldview is challenged. Anyways, they get to the town. They drag her into this inlet area where the castle is, and where there's a balcony for the king and queen to look upon the sea. Everyone is gathered around. Everyone in the entire town is gathered around to see the execution of the Red Bluster, the monster that they have perceived to be a menace to humankind itself. A monster that has eluded countless hunters and killed so many people. But of course, Maisie looks around. Blue, the little pet dog thing that was with them the entire time, the little blue sea monster thing that was tiny, like puppy dog sized, breaks a window. Like, he climbs up to the window on the side of the ship and breaks it with his own mouth. Maisie is very glad to see him. She sees the crest, the royal crest on the castle ahead, and she's like, hey, that's familiar. She looks at her book, and it's the same symbol. She looks at all the other books on the shelf, and it's the same symbol. And now we see the true story. The king and queen have been lying about the sea beasts. The king and queen have been lying about how the sea beasts eat people, come up to shore, and snatch women and children, and how the sea beasts are all monstrous and kill people and stuff. They've lied about that because they encouraged hunters to kill the sea beasts and bring back their horns or whatever things they have to sell. So all of this monster hunting and war and countless death and suffering is all lining the pockets of the rich and powerful. Ain't that a big allegory for something real? How war is just a way for rich people to get richer and poor people to get poorer. Anyways, Maisie then goes and climbs onto the ropes that are holding Red, and she cuts them with her knife. She's trying to cut them. The captain tries to execute Red right then and there. Don't know how a spear or a harpoon is going to do that, even if it's on her underbelly. Like, how is that going to get through the skin and to her heart? Like, are their hearts really, really close to their skin? It's kind of weird how a single stab would kill them. But anyways, before the captain does that, Jacob interrupts him, and they have a sword fight. Jacob almost loses, but then Sarah, the loyal second in command to the captain, helps Maisie cut the line and free Red, which then causes her to get up and causes the captain and Jacob to lose their footing and fall off. They swim to shore. Red is a little dizzy from being injected with poison, so so she flops around, destroying some stuff, some buildings around her. The king and queen prepare a garrison, like a bunch of soldiers aiming at her with cannons, and are telling the general to fire. But then Red gains her composure. She starts swimming towards the captain. Captain grabs a spear from a statue. And I'm thinking, how is that going to ever work? Like, that spear is purely decorative, it seems. Like, there's no way that's actually going to hurt her. You know? Like, there's no way that thing is sharp. Because it's just sitting there as a decoration piece in a statue. But anyways, but before Red can kill the captain, Maisie stops Red. She then climbs on Red's head and tells the entire city that what they've been told was a lie, and how the sea beasts want nothing more than to be left alone in peace. How the king and queen lied about the sea beasts, told everyone they were dangerous and man-eaters, so that humans could hunt them and line their pockets and feed their greed. And then everyone suddenly turns against the monarchy. They're like, hey, she's got a point, I guess, even though, that's not really how it would happen. We all know that's not really how it would happen, you know. Uh, but anyways, King and Queen tell the general to fire. The general doesn't because they're like, because the general's like, my brother died fighting this stupid war between humans and sea beasts. You know, knowing that this whole war was pointless. This whole war was just there to make the king and queen rich and powerful and nothing else. You know? So the general doesn't fire. And the Red, Jacob, and Maisie leave in peace. The captain drops his sword as a symbol of not wanting to hunt sea beasts anymore and letting Red live, not having a vendetta against her for taking his eye. The king and queen are seen as the monsters who they are. You know, like practically almost every European monarch. And Red and presumably every other sea beast is left in peace. The unexplored will remain unexplored. Maisie, Blue, and Jacob become a family and live in a nice house by the shore. And that's how the movie ends. I liked it. I kind of liked it. It was a really good movie. The animation is very decent. Same as the designs of the characters and the sea monsters. I liked it a lot. Kind of reminded me of How to Train Your Dragon, though. Like the same kind of plot of a youthful character having their whole worldview challenged and accepting that they might be wrong and trying to convince their community of monster killing, people to challenge their beliefs and stop killing monsters. Kind of the same. Kind of different, though. Very different, though. I mean, in How to Train Your Dragon, there was never a plot about a king and queen, like, using fear against dragons to fuel their greed and to become rich and powerful. There was never a plot line like that. But still, it's very similar. It's not a bad thing, though. They made it different enough. I still liked it. I give the movie like 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Solid movie. Recommend it for whole family. Anyways, that's my review of The Sea Beast on Netflix. Go watch it if you have Netflix. Or go to a piracy website, to watch it. Anyways, bye.